Hi, I'm Christina Whitney, a Handi Quilter studio educator. Let me tell you about our Ruler of the Month Club 8, Boundless Borders. Let's talk about some ruler safety. One of the most important things that you need to have are your ruler base. It's the little tabletop that goes underneath the fabric that's going to extend that table out. You also want to make sure you have a surefoot. This surefoot has the higher profile to prevent the rulers from hopping over and causing damage. So those two things you definitely want to have. The third thing is handy grip. It is just a little sticky sandpaper that you put on the back of your rulers that helps to hold the ruler in place so it's not shifting as you're quilting. So those are the three things that you will want to have with working with rulers. This month's template is our diamond template. This one's really fun to play with, so let's take a look down here and see what we can do with this. You can see I've stitched out in this purple thread our diamond shape, so I'm going to show you how I stitched that. It does have some overstitching. If you're concerned about the thread buildup, you can use a finer thread, or you can cut your threads and just shift the ruler and just do the diamond. I'm a little bit lazier with my quilting, and so I tend to do overstitching to get to my next place. So I started here in the corner, and I went around and I stitched a full diamond. And actually, I'm going to switch out rulers so that you can see what I did. I marked with painter's tape where I needed to stop. Okay, so I did the full diamond shape, stitched over that same line, and I stopped when I got to my painter's tape. Then I shifted my ruler over, however far I wanted, bumped it up against my foot, made sure it was lined up within my seam. And you've got these straight lines that you can use to make sure that the ruler is going straight. So once I had the ruler in proper position, I stitched down, stitched the whole diamond, and actually I stopped right there and then back stitched up to here, again stopping when I got to my tape. Shifting again, stitching the diamond, stopping here, and over stitching. So there's lots of tricks that you can use with your rulers. I've got the handy grip on this one so that it stays stationary. And then after I finished stitching out all of my row, I went back and I did some fills in a different color thread. So it just gives it a different look. So you can compare it between this section here that has this ribbon candy and just some curves in the center here, compared to just using the ruler. So that's a challenge to you to try to expand on what you're doing. Don't feel limited, but do whatever feels natural to you at that point. Okay, let's look at this next section here. For this one, I'm only going to use part of the ruler. So another thing with rulers is you don't have to use the full shape. So I'm going to line this up so that my points are right on my seam. I would have my needle down right here, bump the ruler up against that foot, and then I stitched up. And I'm going to add a little fill right here. I'm going to do a teardrop shape with the ruler still in place, stopping when I get back up to the top, and stitching down. Here I'm going to shift the ruler just a little bit just to get it out of my way, do another teardrop shape, and then position the ruler for the next section. So again, lining up with my seam, oops. I'm going to stitch up, do a little teardrop, and shift down. So here's a little tip for this one. If you are doing a border and this size shape is not going to fit and you need to lengthen it out a little bit, this is a good place where you can lengthen it out. You can stitch up, do some kind of a little shape, shifting it over just a little bit, and then stitching down. Again, do a little shape, shift it just a little bit, and then you can continue on. So that can help lengthen out that border design to make it fit within your border. Okay, let's look at this one right here. This was really fun. I like doing this one. I had a larger border that I could play in. I didn't have to be limited to just go one direction. So what I did is I put my ruler on an angle, stitched around the ruler, stopping here, rotating, and I was just random on this. I didn't use any markings really, I just played with it. Stitched the next one, and then I backtracked over stitching to get down here, flip it again, stitch around, a little over stitching. Oh, I overstitched all the way to that one. Whew. Okay, and then the next one around. You'll notice on this one that I did some echoing around. So this ruler, it's a diamond shape, but you also have a straight edge on here. So I was able to just take the straight edge, line it up on the stitch line that I already stitched, and stitch 1/4 of an inch away. Because your hopping foot is that 1/4 of an inch, so you don't even have to measure anything. Okay? Rulers are fun when you have to put them on uncomfortable positions, but it's doable. Play with it, get used to it, try different designs. Again, this one I added a little fill in here just to make it look a little different and between the two. Okay, let's move. Oh, we've got one more design right here. I forgot about this one. This one again, I used half the ruler, shifted it over, half the ruler, and then I went back and I did the same thing, just offsetting it by half, or sorry, by 1/4 of an inch. So I lined up the edge of the ruler with my previous stitched line, made sure I've got my 1/4 of an inch so that I can hit my seam, and then I stitched out my next line. Shifting the ruler over, stitched the second line, and then I repeated the same thing a 3rd time. So that gives it that different look there. Okay, let's actually stitch with this ruler and learn some tips on this one. First thing I'm going to do is move my machine into position, bring up my bobbin thread. Ooh, try to run away from me. Then with my needle still in the up position, I'm going to take the ruler, and this slit right here is going to slide right over that foot, and that's how I get to the center. The needle has to be in the up position for that trick to work. Okay, so I'm wanting to fit this design, or this diamond within my border. So I've got 1/4 of an inch that I can do to hit that seam perfectly, or I can move it up just a little bit if I want to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. So I'm going to give myself just a little bit of wiggle room. Okay, do my tie off, and then I'm ready to stitch. Okay, when you get to a point, make sure that you pause, shift your hand, and you'll notice that I don't have any pressure on this side. So I might move my hand just to give myself a little bit more control there. So I'm going to walk my hand a little bit, holding that side of the ruler down. Okay, you don't want that to flip up and get caught in there. Now I'm going to continue coming down. Little pause there. And I'm back to where I started. If I want to continue that on, I'm just going to travel back over. And now I'm in position to shift the ruler and do another diamond. With this design, it's important if you're going to be traveling over this same line that you have handy grip on. So you'll notice that I actually moved the ruler just slightly, and I didn't stitch perfectly on that line. If I'd had handy grip on my ruler, it would have stayed in place better. Okay, so that is our diamond template, and you can do amazing things with this. Think outside the box. You can even do this side of the ruler instead of this side of the ruler if you have a larger border. Play around with it and have fun.